Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are grabbing our rule books, mapping the fairway, and diving headfirst into the strategic heart of the T-Legion TCG.
Ah, yes, T-Legion. It's that fascinating blend, isn't it? Pro golf, disciplined grip, stance, tempo meets knights, dragons, and these, well, mythic relics, all playing out on living courses.
Exactly. And it's a game that really revolves around managing, well, chaos.
Oh, absolutely. You've got the knight, who's sort of the pilot, the dragon is your weapon, and then the course itself, which is just inherently volatile, unpredictable.
But I think what often gets overlooked, maybe overshadowed by the big dragon strikes, are the support systems, the background players.
That's precisely it. The real unsung heroes here aren't always the flashiest cards. They're the continuous supports, the tactical adjustments.
So our mission today is a deep exploration of those very systems. We're going to focus entirely on three crucial interconnected relic subclasses: Course, Technique, and Caddie.
Right. These are the cards that manage the battlefield, shape the game, but interestingly,
Right.
they never deal a single point of raw damage themselves.
And they control these, fundamental non-combat aspects of the match.
Yeah, exactly three things. Your long-term tempo, those moments of instantaneous tactical burst, and crucially, controlling or maybe leaning into the massive variance, the unpredictability that really defines T-Legion.
Okay, so we're cutting through the noise. We want to show exactly how each one specializes.
And how they use a very specific statistical anchor, TP, HD, YDS, or DG, to really carve out their unique strategic niche.
That structural distinction sounds key. Okay, let's start by attacking the system. Define the playing field, the strategic arsenal. Where do these relics even live?
Okay, so you've got the main battlefield, the Dragonlance Zone, where the knights and dragons are actively dueling. Adjacent to that, you have the Relic Zone. Think of it as your strategic command center, your arsenal.
Holding both ongoing support and those one-shot instant effects.
Precisely. You've got persistent things like gear, swing, course, Caddie Relics, and then the instants, which are the technique relics. And it's vital to remember their core mandate. Relics are pure support.
They never strike themselves.
Never. Their entire job description is buffing your knight or dragon, maybe messing with the hazard rules, or fundamentally managing the game's core flow, the tempo.
Right. Now, before we dive deeper into Course, Technique, and Caddie, we really need to nail down the language. This game uses 4 core stats constantly. Could you give us a quick refresher? We'll be throwing these acronyms around a lot.
Good call. Absolutely. Think of them as the 4 pillars of performance in T-Legion.
Okay.
First up, GP. That's game points. This is your knight's stamina, their morale, kind of their overall score flow. If GP hits 0, you're out. It's the fundamental tempo resource.
Stamina and score. Got it. Next.
Second, HD hit damage, pure offense. This is how hard your dragon strikes the opposing knight. Pretty straightforward.
Makes sense.
Third, YDS is yards. This governs movement, positioning, distance. Crucial for closing in on an opponent or maybe creating some space.
Positioning. Right. And the last one?
Finally, DG Dragon Guard. This is your dragon's defense. Its ability to shrug off or mitigate incoming damage from an enemy strike.
Okay. GP, HD, YDS, DG, tempo, offense, position, defense. Got it. So usually, when people talk relics, they start with gear and swing. How do they differ from our focus today, just briefly?
Yeah, gear and swing are kind of the most immediate, the physical layers. Gear relics are your tools, the clubs, specialized balls, gloves, whatever. They directly shape performance stats, usually anchored around HD, DG, and YDS, the tangible stuff.
Right. The equipment.
Swing relics are about the knight's form. Their rhythm, stance, tempo. They focus more on stability, so they anchor around DG, defense, sometimes touching YDS for positioning, or GP for consistency. It's the how of the swing.
And today, we're stepping outside that immediate strike. We're looking at the relics controlling the match flow, the environment, the bigger picture stuff.
Exactly. Course relics, dealing with the environment. Technique relics, those are the instants. And Caddie relics, providing guidance. And as we'll see, their main stat anchors, GP for course, H2YDS for technique, and DDGP for Caddie, really tell the story of their strategic identity.
Which brings us, inevitably, to the heart of the game's chaos engine, the shot shape roll.
Ah, the 1d6? Yes. This single roll dictates the effectiveness, the direction, sometimes even the location of every major action. It's the variance engine that relics are constantly designed to either fight against or maybe cleverly leverage.
The dreaded roll indeed. A 1 is perfect, a straight shot. A 6 foot is the absolute disaster, the shank. We really need to internalize how outcomes map across that 1 to 6 curve, because relics, especially the hazard retrieval ones, get their value by tweaking this spectrum.
Let's slow down here because this is super critical context for understanding everything else. The roll isn't just pass-fail, it dictates how you succeed or fail, and often where your dragon ends up.
Okay, walk us through the good outcomes first.
Yeah.
Rolls 1, 2, 3.
Right, roll a 1, that's straight, pure benefit, often maximum HD or YDS, 0 penalty, the ideal outcome.
Clean.
Roll a 2, that's the draw, a really strong running shot. Baseline effect might be something like plus 100 HD and a nice plus 50 YDS boost. Powerful.
Good offensive result.
Roll a 3, the fade. Also solid, but tactically different. It's more controlled, maybe a bit defensive, typically grants plus 100 DG for protection and a modest plus 50 YDS. Still good, just a different flavor. These are your controlled, positive outcomes.
Okay, and then the chaos starts at 4.
Yep. Roll 4, that's the hook. Then over curve, you might get a huge positional swing, say plus 150 YDS, which could be great, but it comes at a cost. Exposing your defense, maybe negative 100 DG. It's a tactical vulnerability, a trade-off.
High risk, high reward positioning. What about 5?
Roll a 5 is the slice. Generally just weak. A poor strike. You usually lose distance, like negative 100 YDS, and your impact is lessened, maybe negative 100 HD. Just an overall disappointing result.
And then 6, the guaranteed panic button.
The shank, yeah.
Yeah.
Catastrophic failure. You lose a ton of distance, minimum next 150 YDS, maybe more.
Yeah.
And crucially, you trigger an immediate hazard check. This is where relics truly earn their keep.
Because that hazard check means your dragon might end up in trouble.
Big trouble. A bad roll, especially a shank, could land your dragon in the hazard zone. Specifically, bunker on a 4, rough on a 5, or water on a 6, depending on the hazard rules. And if that happens, you desperately need a retrieval relic.
And this retrieval mechanism, this life insurance policy, it works for bunker, rough, water. But there's one place it absolutely doesn't.
The ultimate penalty. OB, out of bounds. If your dragon goes OB, it's gone. Permanently removed from the game. Think of it as the graveyard. No relic, no matter how powerful, can bring a dragon back from OB.
Wow, okay, that sets the stakes incredibly high.
It defines the tension. How close are you to that OB possibility? And as we'll discuss, only one of the relic types we're focusing on today is really willing to push that risk and flirt with that OB disaster.
All right, let's start our deep dive into the subclasses with Course Relics. You said their identity is pure environment.
Exactly. Think terrain, weather conditions, wind, slope, maybe even the historical vibe or pressure of an iconic hole you're playing on. They act like persistent field spells, modifying the rules of engagement for everyone, not just buffing one unit.
So they're setting the stage, changing the context of the duel.
They are the definition of macro control. A Course Relic isn't upgrading your knight's driver or refining their putting stroke. It's making the virtual sand deeper, the rough thicker, maybe the wind pickup.
And because these field conditions naturally affect the knight's ability to, maintain focus and rhythm over a long match.
Their statistical anchor has to be GP, main points. Course Relics are fundamentally about the knight's stamina, morale, and the overall flow of the score. They govern the long-term tempo.
Okay, so if GP is the anchor, Course Relics are about stability, tempo management. They might combine GP gain with, say, YDS for positional tweaks due to terrain, or DG for defensive field conditions like a deep bunker offering cover.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But they're fundamentally uninterested in boosting raw, instantaneous hit damage. That's just not what the environment does in this game's logic.
Right, the course affects how tired you get, how confident you feel, not really the brute force of your swing at that exact moment.
Exactly. Let's dig into that Amen Corner Course Relic example mentioned in the outline, because it really illustrates how environment shifts the tactical landscape.
Okay, walk us through it. Why does representing Amen Corner make the small par 3 dragons hit harder? That seems counterintuitive at first.
Right, because Amen Corner, that famous stretch of holes, is known for being relatively short, but incredibly tricky. It demands intense precision. So a Course Relic representing this specific environment changes the battlefield condition.
How?
It might say something like, while this course is in play, all par 3 dragons gain plus 100 HD. Now, par 3 dragons are your short game specialists, your precision units.
So the buff isn't because the knight suddenly got stronger.
No, it's because the difficulty and nature of the hole itself magnifies the impact and consequence of precision shots. It forces both players to recognize, okay, on this stretch, even small precise hits carry a much bigger immediate damage threat. The environment changes the stakes.
That's fascinating. It's not a direct buff to your gear or stats. It's a condition imposed by the scenery that forces a strategic shift. It's like the course itself is saying, pay attention, the rules just changed slightly here.
Exactly. And this focus on flow, on the environmental context, directly defines how Course Relics handle hazard retrieval. We call it hazard retrieval via environment.
Okay, so this represents what? The ball getting a lucky bounce, a forgiving slope?
Yeah, or maybe a particularly well-maintained bunker that's easier to play out of. It's environmental forgiveness. A bit of good fortune provided by the course itself.
And if it's about flow, morale, that environmental luck, then these retrieval effects must always touch GP, right? You didn't muscle the dragon out. The course allowed the recovery, which naturally restores the knight's confidence or eases their frustration.
That confidence restoration, that GP gain or stabilization, is the key component. You recovered your position thanks to the environment, and that restores some mental stamina. But, and this is critical, there's a limit.
They manage flow, they don't perform miracles.
Exactly. Course Relics generally cap out at retrieving par 3 or par 4 dragons, your medium-sized units.
Yeah.
A par 5 dragon, that's your biggest hitter, your boss monster, a huge investment. The environment alone, no matter how forgiving, just can't provide the miracle save needed to recover that kind of colossal mistake. That requires something more drastic.
Okay, so Course Relics define the atmosphere, provide stability, manage tempo through GP, which seems to reinforce faction identities quite nicely.
What? Perfectly. Iron Resolve, the Legion focused on stability, defense, and consistency. They love Course Relics.
Makes sense.
They use them for safe, measured GP recovery, maybe a course that softens the penalties for landing in the rough, ensuring they can steadily manage their score and outlast the opponent. Consistency over chaos.
And conversely, Slice Fang, the Chaos faction, they probably don't use Course Relics for stability at all.
Not typically. Slice Fang looks for Course Relics that introduce volatility. They might play a course that represents treacherous, uneven terrain.
How would that work?
Maybe it gives a massive plus 200 YDS gain if you hit a perfect draw, roll 2, really rewarding aggression. But the same card explicitly states that if you shank, roll 6, maybe the penalty isn't just a hazard check, maybe it's straight to OB.
Wow.
They introduce terrain that is a deliberate gamble, forcing the opponent, and maybe even themselves, to navigate conditions designed to brutally punish anything less than perfect execution. They use the environment to amplify risk.
Okay, so if Course Relics are the long game, the environmental macro management technique relics sound like the exact opposite. We're shifting from marathon management to a lightning strike.
That is a perfect analogy. Technique relics embody the one-shot maneuver, the instant clutch tactical play.
Like a desperate recovery shot from deep woods, or an unexpected chip-in.
Exactly. Or maybe an aggressive all-out power surge. They play directly from your hand, their effect resolves immediately, and then bam, straight to the discard pile. They're surgical, ephemeral, gone in a flash.
And because they're about that immediate, sharp impact, their statistical anchor shifts completely away from long-term GP gain. It's got a brute force HD, damage right, followed maybe by YDS yards.
Spot on. Techniques are about applying intense attack pressure right now, or dramatically repositioning a unit instantly, focused and sharp.
And you mentioned an interesting inversion with GP here. For Course Relics, GP was the gain, the anchor. For techniques,
For technique relics, GP often becomes the cost. You're paying a penalty, maybe taking a stroke against your knight's stamina to fuel this burst of power or precision.
so instead of a Course Relic giving you plus 100 GP for stability, a technique might say, pay 200 GP to gain plus 200 YDS. You're literally gambling your knight's endurance for immediate tactical advantage.
Precisely. And that cost model is necessary because of their strategic role. They are the clutch tactical subclass. They're designed to turn the tide instantly.
They have to feel risky, unsustainable.
Exactly. If they were just pure benefit with no downside, they'd completely dominate the game and break the tempo system. By requiring a GP cost, or maybe some other significant risk like discarding cards, the designers ensure these powerful spikes like HD gain at a GP cost. Or maybe a counter move that boosts HD and DG but costs you cards feel like calculated, sometimes desperate, gambits, not just routine plays.
This high-risk nature seems absolutely central to their approach to crisis management, what you called hazard retrieval via gambit.
Yes, and this is where technique relics truly, fundamentally separate themselves from every other relic type in the game.
How so?
Technique is the only subclass, the only way that can realistically justify attempting to retrieve a par 5 dragon, your boss monster.
The biggest units in the game?
Right. A par 5 represents a massive investment, a multi-turn asset. If that thing lands in the water hazard, under normal circumstances, that's probably game over, or close to it. Technique Relics offer that one slim, high-risk chance to pull it back. They embody that miracle recovery or complete collapse moment.
Okay, wait. If you fail the retrieval roll on one of these Technique cards, what happens? You said the risk is catastrophic.
It often is.
Yeah.
The consequence could be the absolute worst outcome in the game, losing that par 5 dragon permanently.
To OB out of bounds forever.
Essentially, yes.
So why? Why would anyone ever risk that? Losing your biggest unit permanently. Doesn't that feel like potentially bad design if the failure state is that absolute?
That's the core philosophical tension of T-Legion. The design intentionally forces that gut-wrenching choice. The extreme risk validates the immense reward. If you could just safely fish your par 5 dragon out of the water with a simple Caddie card, the strategic weight of hazards, the threat they pose, and the sheer investment in deploying that boss dragon in the first place,
Yeah.
it would all become meaningless.
So the catastrophic risk is necessary to maintain the value and threat of both the hazard and the high par dragon itself.
Exactly. The source material gives that really chilling example, Iron Recall. Imagine, your par 5 dragon is sunk in the water hazard. Roll 6. You play Iron Recall. First, you pay a steep GP penalty. You're exhausting your knight just for the attempt. Then you roll the 1d6 shot-shaped die.
Okay.
If you roll anything from 1 through 5, maybe straight, draw, fade, hook, or slice, you've done it. A miracle. You've pulled the dragon back onto the fairway, albeit exhausted from the GP cost. You're back in the game.
But if you rolled a 6?
If you roll the shank, the 6, that dragon card is immediately sealed. Moved directly to the out-of-bounds zone, gone. For the entire match, your biggest asset vanished because you took the gamble and failed. The player making that play isn't just using a card effect, they're putting their entire game state on the line with a single die roll.
Wow. That perfectly terrifyingly embodies the Slice Fang philosophy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Slice Fang embraces this level of volatility. They live for the sharp spike in HD or YDS from a technique, even if it costs GP. They are drawn to the high-risk, high-reward par 5 recovery attempt because they are comfortable with that high-ceiling gambit. They accept the potential OB failure because they believe the potential reward is worth it.
Technique Relics don't offer guardrails. They offer a scalpel for precision strikes or a massive, risky spike for recovery.
Exactly. They appeal directly to the aggressive player, the one who believes, rightly or wrongly, that they can control the outcome, even when the dice are involved.
Okay, wow. After discussing the sheer, terrifying potential downside of Technique Relics, our third focus subclass, Caddie Relics, feels like the game's therapist.
That's actually a perfect way to put it. The Caddie is the advisor, the mentor, the steadying hand on your shoulder. They are the core variance managers of T-Legion.
Their whole job is basically smoothing out the rough edges of the shot-shape roll.
Pretty much. Their function isn't to help you hit harder, HD, or surge across the field faster, YDS. It's to ensure that when that bad roll inevitably happens, the slice, the hook, maybe even the shank, you don't instantly collapse. Their icon says it all. The golf cap and bag silhouette. Pure utility support and guidance.
And their core identity is resilience, sustainability. You mentioned they preserve the knight's composure, which is GP, and the dragon's defensive posture, DG.
Exactly. So the gold standard Caddie support pairing, the most common and defining effect you'll see, is DG plus GP. They help keep your knight calm and your dragon safe.
They are the safety net.
Absolutely. A Caddie is generally not going to give you raw offensive stats or massive repositioning. They might offer modest YDS nudges. Think of it as good positional advice, but that's about it on the aggressive side. Their main function is preserving the resources you already have and mitigating the downside of bad luck.
So the Caddie is the ultimate stabilizer. How do they actually achieve that variance stabilization beyond just giving passive DG and GP buffs? What do?
They interact directly with the negative outcomes of the shot-shaped roll. They might provide continuous support auras that lessen penalties. For instance, a Caddie might say, ignore the DG penalty from hooks, roll 4. Or they might offer tactical foresight, maybe an ability letting you peek at the top card of your deck to plan better. And they offer direct risk mitigation. A classic Caddie might trigger when your knight takes damage, immediately restoring some lost GP, like your Caddie calming you down after a bad shot.
I remember seeing an example in the outline about Caddies allowing dragons to safely return to hand instead of even entering a hazard. It's not retrieval, that's like guidance saving you before the disaster hits.
Exactly. It's preemptive defense. The Caddie essentially advises, whoa, that shot looked bad, let's just pull back and reset. It prevents the problem altogether.
This supportive, stabilizing identity must translate directly into how they handle hazard retrieval via safety net.
It does. And as the name suggests, this is absolutely the safest retrieval subclass available. They provide the guardrails against complete collapse when things go wrong.
So when a caddy pulls a dragon out of, say, the rough, roll 5, or a bunker, roll 4.
The effect is always tied to maintaining stability. It will always involve restoring or protecting the knight's score, GP, and/or the dragon's defense, DG. The recovery is measured, sustainable, and safe. It gets you back in play without further risk.
But there's always a but because they are defined by steady support, not high-risk miracles.
They are strictly capped. Caddie Relics can only retrieve up to par 4 dragons.
Okay, so the caddy stabilizes the mid-level crises, the common mistakes with your workhorse dragons. But they absolutely refuse to attempt that Iron Recall-style desperation play for the big boss.
Exactly. They won't perform miracles, and they won't expose you to catastrophic risk. The caddie's strength lies in ensuring a high floor for your game plan, preventing minor errors from snowballing, not chasing the highest possible ceiling.
Which, again, brings us back to Iron Resolve. This sounds like their bread and butter.
Absolutely. Iron Resolve relies heavily on caddies. They ensure that the inevitable slices and hooks don't completely derail their strategy. Caddies allow them to absorb minor setbacks, maintain their DG, recover GP steadily, and win through attrition and disciplined resource management over the long haul. They provide the consistency Iron Resolve craves.
Okay, so we've really broken down these 3 distinct philosophies: course, technique, caddy. And now we can see how they form these 3 essential non-attacking pillars of strategy, complementing the more direct gear and swing relics to manage the whole flow of the match.
Right. Let's quickly summarize their unique roles, specifically mapping them against those core game dynamics we mentioned: tempo, burst, and variance.
Okay, first, the Course Relic, anchored firmly to GP. Its role is macro-level tempo management. It controls the stamina, the morale, the score flow of the entire battlefield. It makes the terrain itself a living factor in the game's rhythm.
Then, the Technique Relic, anchored primarily to HD and YDS. Its role is providing instant burst capability. It's the surgical strike, the one-shot gamble, designed for immediate offensive pressure or dramatic positional shifts, often with significant risk or cost. Consequences be damned.
And finally, the Caddie Relic, anchored to DG and GP. Its role is continuous variance, mitigation, and resilience. They act as the safety net, ensuring that even if that D6 roll comes up a 5, a slice, the damage to your overall game plan and resources is minimized, preventing setbacks from becoming routes.
And this fundamental contrast is maybe most crystal clear when we look side by side at the retrieval hierarchy for hazards. It really lays out the strategic risk versus reward profile for each subclass.
Right, the caddy is the baseline, the definition of safety. It's capped at retrieving Parlal or dragons. Its retrieval always focuses on steady recovery, resource protection, restoring DG or GP. It's the disciplined, safe play.
The Course Relic is the balanced approach. Also capped at Paraki dollars, but its retrieval feels different. It's centered on environmental forgiveness, representing luck or favorable conditions. The benefit is tied more to morale recovery, GP, and adjusting the state of play based on the environment. Still safe, but feels more contextual.
But then the Technique Relic stands completely alone in this hierarchy. It's the only one that can even attempt to retrieve those game-changing Paralogi dollar dragons.
And it's the biggest but in the game, that unique access comes handcuffed to the potential for absolute catastrophic failure, risking sealing that vital unit to OB forever if you roll that shank. High reward, meet highest risk.
And that stratification, that clear difference in risk and capability is vital for the game's tension.
Absolutely critical. If any relic could safely retrieve a par 5, hazards would lose their teeth, and those big dragons wouldn't feel nearly as significant. By tying the highest value retrieval exclusively to the highest cost, highest risk technique relics, the design forces players into making really defining choices about their strategy, their deck building, and fundamentally their tolerance for potentially game-losing volatility.
Which loops perfectly back to reinforcing those main Legion identities we touched on. Iron Resolve has to lean towards Course and Caddie Relics.
Precisely. Iron Resolve builds its entire game plan on consistent discipline and resource advantage. They prioritize caddies for high DG, stable GP recovery, and reliable Paraloka dollar retrieval. They use Course Relics to soften environmental penalties, like making rough less punishing. Their attrition strategy depends on these safer, predictable support options to maintain stability over time.
While Slice Fang just laughs at safety,
They are defined by their willingness to burn resources to gamble GP, maybe even risk OB, for that one game-winning burst, which means they fundamentally embrace technique relics.
Absolutely. They seek out explosive power swings. They want the option for that high-risk par 5 retrieval, even knowing the potential disaster. They accept GP burn as a cost of doing business. They accept the OB fail state because they're betting on the chaos, betting that their sudden sharp spike in HD or YDS will win the match faster than their Iron Resolve opponent can stabilize using their steady caddies and courses.
So this ensures that a player's chosen legion, their core philosophy, informs every single card slot in their relic zone. These aren't just generic support cards. They are tools that gain very specific identity, tension, and a clear risk-reward profile.
All because their effects are mapped perfectly onto that wonderfully unpredictable 1-to-6 shot-shaped roll curve. An Iron Resolve caddy might focus on mitigating the penalties of rolls 4 and 5 to hook and slice to prevent defensive losses.
While a Slice Fang technique might focus on amplifying the benefits of rolls 2 and 3, the draw and fade, turning a good hit into an overwhelming power spike, even if it costs GP.
Exactly. Every number on that die matters intensely, because the relics in play have decided exactly how much chaos or control is injected into that specific moment, based on their subclass identity. #tag outro. So just to quickly recap the strategic backbone we've explored today. Course Relics, anchored to GP, managing the macro-level tempo and environment. Technique Relics, anchored to HDYDS, enabling those instant high-risk clutch bursts. And Caddie Relics, anchored firmly to DGGP, providing that continuous stability and essential variance mitigation.
They really form the strategic ecosystem, the support structure that makes T-Legion tick beyond just hitting hard. But, this level of design tension, especially around the techniques, leaves us with a really provocative thought to consider, doesn't it? Given that only technique relics offer that potential lifeline for your crucial par 5 boss dragons, but always with that immediate, terrifying threat of permanent loss to OB looming on a failed roll, does relying on that high-cost, high-risk tactical burst demonstrate, superior strategic foresight and guts? Or are you simply choosing to gamble, rolling the dice when the stakes are absolute highest?
That's the question, isn't it? And the answer probably changes depending on the exact game state, the opponent, maybe even the player's personality. But the fact that the game forces you to ask that question, to weigh that gamble, that's what defines the razor's edge between a disciplined knight and perhaps a reckless one.
We'll leave that tension hanging there for you to consider. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into the strategic support systems, the course, technique, and caddy relics of T-Legion.
Absolutely. Until next time, may your shot-shaped rolls always be straight, and may your knight's confidence and, crucially, their GP stay high.